How are you?
Wonderful. Just making sure I'm all to do. Good.
Heck,
You look amazing.
we'd love to be able to take this hair and put it on you.
Oh my goodness, that would be wild. But then I would have to put some silver eyeliner on and really do it up because I gotta take it to a whole nother level. I gotta be like I'm in the fifth element.
That's exactly what it's like. Yeah, maybe I should go orange next.
Oh, that would be amazing. I mean, you're already gorgeous, so it'd be
Thank you.
fine. Yeah, I love the colors that you choose, everything. It's really wonderful.
Thank you. I'm a little rainbow unicorn.
I love that. Unicorns and rainbows are my thing.
Great.
The magic. They live in my magical world. Fantastic.
That is very lucky because, we're talking to each other. Otherwise, it'd be very awkward.
Yes.
So I would like to just start by saying thank you so much for making, space in your busy day and diary for this event, which is for Yoga Stops Traffic, an amazing charity that helps rescue and rehabilitate women and children. I think
My goodness.
seriously, about time everyone needs to be getting on that train, huh?
I was talking on that train for a while and no one believed me. Everyone thought I was crazy. Years and years and years ago, the spirits told me that all this trafficking was going on. And I had told so many people and everyone didn't want to hear it. No one wanted to listen. I said, okay, you just watch when they start putting in bathrooms. If you see something weird or this and that, they're going to try to make it comfortable for you so that because they know that they can't hide it anymore. So it's going to be more out and more present. And then my friends are like, oh my God, you were right. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they listen to you anyway, mate? You are the one that speaks to all the spirits, to be fair.
It's always a luck of the draw with my friends. Sometimes they're just like they either so used to it or they just kind of like sometimes it's too far out for them to process.
Right, right.
A lot of people don't really want to process things like that unless it's like making them feel good. It's like when it comes to like real issues, when it comes to things that I really need them to pay attention to, it's a little bit more there. People are like, oh, why are you so doomsday, Shaman Durek? How come you're always talking about these things that are going to happen? But then it happens. And then they're like, oh my goodness, you were right. Like I even told my friends when the Twin Tower fell down, I was in Windows of the World at a flapper party and everyone was dancing and then I took a break from the dancing and walked away and just looked out the window and I touched the thing and the whole building disappeared. And I was like, oh my God. And my friend's like, what's going on? I was like, you better enjoy your night here. It's the last time we're going to be here. And he goes, why? I said, because this building is going to fall. Like these things are going to fall. And I wrote it in a poem and I gave it to my sister to record. So she had the date of when I gave it to her. And then it says in my poem, two brothers in the city of great will fall. And literally when it happened, all my friends called me. It was like, oh my God, you were right. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to tell you.
Wow. That must be kind of a bit of a burden as well to know stuff and then people not listen to you. Frustrating and a burden.
I think the burden comes in more when I was like working for the Israeli government and finding missing people, these types of things. I think that was more of a burden for me because it was the stress of making a mistake, things like that. Or I found like people who were kidnapped and stuff like that. And that was a lot of intensity, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, bless you. Well, I would like, if possible, for you to describe and explain what a shaman, however you pronounce it, is, and how to pronounce it, in fact, by way of contrast to perhaps a channel or a medium. So what's the difference between the two and how the bloody hell do I say it?
Yes, of course. So we'll just kind of give you an understanding of what a channel and a medium is. A channel is someone who's using their vessel to allow another spirit or entity to come in and, excuse me, and to download into their system their frequency for a moment of time, embody them, and then deliver messages. Whereas a medium, depending on what kind of medium, or if you're a precognitive medium, or if you're not, a medium is someone who's able to make connection to the other side by way of connecting with a certain family member or friend or someone, and then be able to deliver the messages to the other person. A shaman, on the other hand, our whole role is about helping people in human adaptation. We're here to guide people to putting the power back in their hands to help them realize that magic is real and that there are things that you see in Harry Potter that are real. Like when you see people accessing powers and things like that, which I can show you, which is super easy. And then helping them to integrate that into their life wherever they are. So we deal with anthropology, sociology. Our whole process is to help people connect with spirits instead of making them codependent to us. So a lot of times when a person goes to a medium, the medium will tell them what the spirit is saying. Whereas in a shaman, we'll teach you how to do it. So that way you can have the conversation with the elders and with the ancestors and with the family members on the other side. If someone went to a psychic, the psychic is telling them, oh, here's what the cards say, and so forth. Whereas we in shamanism will teach you how to be able to access that information on your own and have that relationship with your spirit guides and have that relationship with the information and the intelligence that your being is already naturally a part of. It just was robbed from you from the matrix and the system that doesn't want you to believe that you're powerful, so you can stay a codependent being and operate like a sheep, and then they can just go ahead and decide what kind of landscape they want to put you in and then have you react and so forth, so they can just measure those reactions and then keep them going. So shamanism is about relationship. It's about your relationship to yourself, relationship to your food, relationship to your body, relationship to the ancestors, relationship to the spirit, relationship to your community, relationship to your friends, the ones you're in love with, all of it. And the type of relationship is not a one-sided relationship. It's a relationship of partnership and understanding and being able to realize the potential of intelligence that lives around you through family, through friends, through trees, through flowers, through everything. And then being able to utilize that intelligence to create a global, or how we say, an internal, external experience of homeostasis, love, connection, playfulness, experience, and create to a place of amplification of love on the planet. And so the shamanism is built on that foundation. And then each tribe follows their tribal ways based on that foundation.
Amazing. It sounds a lot more empowering and bilateral than the previous things that we just discussed, which is kind of like a one-way thing, kind of. But what you're doing is bringing other people into their own power.
Absolutely. You have to, because the whole purpose of a shaman is to make sure that the tribe thrives. A tribe can't thrive if every person in the tribe is codependent. Each person has to be in their own autonomy, recognizing their power, recognizing what they can do, what they can offer to that tribe, so that everyone is in there doing what they need to do to keep the tribe growing and expanding. The moment someone goes into codependency or lack or fear, it affects the whole tribe, because then everyone has to come and be in a space of dealing with that energy. So their whole job is to get that person back into their own seat of power. Right? Not into a place of, I need you in order to survive, but it's, we need each other because we're stronger as numbers, not apart. So the understanding of it is, instead of me going into a room and saying, okay, I'm just going to talk at you, I'm here to actually show you how to walk out of this room as a shaman.
Amazing. It's amazing. I was actually in your healing temple on Saturday, where I had a wonderful time. That was the first time I've ever, first of all, experienced a shaman at all, but also in that you empowered us all with, was it spectrum healing? Yeah. So and that's, from that I was like, oh my goodness, this is very different to what I expected, because it's not like you just doing stuff at us. It's we're part of it, and we're growing with the lessons that you're imparting. So yeah, that was rad. I'm really looking forward to next week with the Trinity stuff, the sand stuff.
Yes.
Whole bunch of us on it. So that's really cool. How long have you been doing those healing temples?
So the healing temple started when the pandemic started. So what happened was Spirit came to me in a vision, and they said, you need to create a healing space, a healing temple, to help level up people's powers and help them to thrive through this pandemic. And then basically we created it, and they told me, don't charge a lot, make sure it's affordable to everyone. It's about being there for the people and supporting them. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. So the healing temple was born.
Amazing. And how has the response been? Like, How's it affected people in the pandemic? What, you know, the tribe at large? What's the
It's been amazing. We get letters from people all over the world, from every like Kazakhstan, and from like today was Saudi Arabia. You know, we get letters from people who said like they haven't fallen into depression. They've been able to know how to create in their life. So they've been able to bring money still in the door. They're able to take care of their families. Women have found it be able to balance out being mothers and wives and their own personal energy. A lot of businessmen have, you know, who go to the healing temple have felt like their businesses have gone up even more. They've learned how to really support their team and their staff. And it's just been, one woman had chronic back pain, gone. Another guy had anxiety issues, gone. So it's been basically a lot of people who just have, their lives have changed, you know. And, you know, when we first started, we had about 10,000 people. And it was like huge, you know, and then it was killing we had to like keep upgrading the server, but now it's kind of died down, but it's still a lot of people coming from all over the world. We have people from Japan, people from Australia, England, Ireland. We get people from Paris, from China, you know, all over. Qatar, Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
It's amazing. I know when you listed off all the countries that were there, I was like, whoa, dude, that's basically the world. Tanya's actually trying to get in. I'm just gonna let Tanya come in, mate.
Yeah, for sure.
Let you know before she, you know, she's been knocking on the door. We've had to change. This is very real. She's been knocking on the Zoom door.
I love it.
I didn't know that she was going to join us, actually. So that's nice. Very silly. Here she is.
Well, you have to be. I mean, do you see how I am on the Healing Temple? I'm singing songs. I'm shaking the lit bell.
I love the lit bell.
I'm playing characters, you know, because I think that if you're going to help people remember their powers, you don't do it as a stoic. Like, that's one of the biggest things that I noticed growing up as a kid, is this whole stoic nature that people carry in the spiritual world, is this very like holier than thou, you know, I have to be this way with I gotta wear these robes, and like, no, I'm gonna wear a Metallica t-shirt and some cowboy boots if I want to. One day I might dress in a suit. Next day you might see me in some color like tie-dye shirt and stuff. It's like, for me, it's about realness, and it's about people coming together to commune in a way that allows them to increase their intelligence for the purpose of human adaptation and human ecology. If we continue to operate in this vacuous void of this is what it means to be spiritual, and then those who aren't in that can't be spiritual. Like, an engineer can be spiritual, a lawyer, a doctor can be spiritual. Like, we have so many doctors who come into the Healing Temple, so many lawyers and people who are in very powerful positions in life, CEOs and so forth. They're not seeing it as woo-woo, because they know that spirituality isn't based on doing downward dogs and drinking green smoothies and doing all these things. It's about the relationship to how those things make you feel, and the connection that you create within them to better your life internally, that then begins to become an external experience for other people to enjoy. You know, I mean, a lot of yoga instructors and people who operate in ways in yoga and that I've seen, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's what you choose to do. You know, you're wearing your see-through white pants and your white shirts, and I think this is more like a pickup joint than it is, a yoga experience. But the whole idea of it is, I like people who will take yoga to a level where they're like, playing rock and roll music, or have cool colored lights, or like, having sound bowls going on and all this kind of stuff. Because the most important thing is it's not just about the yoga, it's about the intention for the attention. And if your intention is in the right place, your attention is going to be in the right place, and your attention is going to be on changing the world, bringing more love, more compassion, more generosity, more kindness, and whatever suit you choose to go in. That's up to you. And that's the freeness that I think spirituality should offer, is that spirituality is not this, or that. It's not because you took ayahuasca and then you did iboga last week. It is literally means that you are here to evolve. Spirituality means evolution, one who seeks to evolve. Now, however that chooses to play itself out, if that means you have to run around a tree and say, my name is Gumada, 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 and then drink some tea and do it again backwards, then fine, that's your spiritual practice. Great.
Yeah, I'm down with that. In fact, I might try that. I'm going to take this clip out and just do that later when we've stopped talking.
Yeah, I think it's great. We all should do that.
You're going to start a new craze now, mate. You know that, don't you? So in a child, joy, humor, absolutely imperative to what you do. And I really love how you sort of switch between being incredibly eloquent at delivering, you know, super amazing, powerful lessons, but then in 2 seconds you're singing again and you're back and like taking the piss out of life, basically, which is wonderful. And how important do you think joy is, not only to you, because you are a joyous fellow, but also in when you give the healings and the temple, like, is it a cornerstone?
I think it's important to be a cornerstone of joy, playfulness, and freedom, because it makes people's inhibitions go down. People come into these types of events. Like I had one guy who wrote me, he's a big CEO, you know, and he was like, okay, I'm going to step into this that I've never done before. And he said it was the most amazing thing because it just took off the pressure of what he thought it should be to something completely different. 1 second, I'm giving you information that is there to give you instruction on how to access certain powers and so forth. And next second, I'm speaking to you and in another tone and singing a song about the heart, you know, and he just thought it was absolutely wonderful. And you know, a lot of my behaviors a lot of my role models have come from comedians. You know, my dad was a very funny guy. I really loved Robin Williams. He was my inspiration when I was a kid. You know, like I felt like looking at him was looking into a world of freedom outside of this world that we're told to sit in. And I always feel that when people dance and everyone's walking like robots on the street, or someone is doing something completely extraordinarily ordinarily that you would never see, right? It's like the unordinary, like the person who's just following the rules versus the person who's extraordinarily doing something that's uncomfortable to what people think, to me is a doorway into another consciousness, into another dimension, or also can be seen as the key out of your cage or out of your idea of suppression and repression and oppression and your need to fit into the status quo, the box, the label, you know, and be constrained and so forth, to actually feeling what liberation actually really looks like on multiple levels. And I think that anyone who wants to learn something, I found that when I was in school, when I was in my training as a shaman, everything was very strict and it was very intense. And it was like, you know, you have to do this and then you do this and then you do this. And it was just like snore bore, you know, and even like why I left school, because I couldn't stand my teachers. I was like, you guys are the most boring, like I'm here on earth and I only have a certain amount of time, or whatever that time may be. And I have to listen to you. You sound like the Charlie Brown, like wah, 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 wah. And like, that was like a great depiction for cartoons, because that's how I felt every day going to school. And so I left school at junior high. I was done. I was like, why am I in this school anyway? The institution isn't supporting shamanism. It's not supporting the knowledge of the things that I've come to bring to the world. And it's given me a lot more time to build and understand myself and the way in which I can conduct information, both in from the understanding of shamanism into the modern day world, and start helping people build that knowledge of like, oh, wow, so you mean shamanism can be transferred into science and to medicine, into all these different things. And we can start developing ways to get empirical information and ways that we can start blind testing and doing all of these things to make it a part of the human functionality. But it doesn't need to be boring. No. Why does it have to be boring? I don't understand what boring, why do human beings feel the need to be boring and be the same, which to me is lame.
Because they love to suppress, mate. They love to suppress and control.
It's crazy.
I know, but this is freedom, isn't it?
I love it.
This is
where we are supposed to be in our lives, you know? Yeah. And it's like, but people have this kind of like, you know, and even for me, I was always the kid in school who was the nerd. And I was the one who was always the outcast. And then I started learning about people, watching the way they talk. So I started mimicking their language and their lexicon. And I would walk into the group with the jocks and start speaking the way that they understand things, but from still being me, true to me, but speaking in their language. And they were like, whoa, that's amazing. I can't believe, how did we not know you were this cool guy? And then I did it to another group and then another group. And before you know it, I became the most popular guy in school because I was able to integrate intelligences into understanding each other through the understanding of lexicon, social behavior, and freedom.
Yeah, it's something that everyone should really try to broaden their horizons with, because they would have a lot less fisticuffs and arguments, and we'd all have
Oh,
friends.
absolutely. I'm so over the fisticuffs.
Nobody likes a fisticuffs, darling.
Too much. Everyone's getting their knickers in a bunch.
Little twisty knickers, darling.
Yeah, little twisty knickers. Twisty knickers.
Oh, bloody brilliant. We spoke about Robin Williams just then, and
yeah.
he and you and I believe, all share a diagnosis, which was, you speak about this in your book, Spirit Hacking, which I've listened to because I'm dyslexic. So I listened to you talk it, which was much nicer.
I'm dyslexic too.
Are you?
Yeah.
We're twinning off quite a lot here.
Yeah, twinning.
And where I'm going with this is that certain mental conditions and diagnoses and labels in other cultures are seen to be something totally different. So my sister's a psychologist, right? And she's a very clever girl. And she says that in certain cultures, people who hear voices are revered to be listening to the other worlds. That's right. Growing up, I had depression or bipolar or whatever, and I was medicated. You were, suicidal, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're not held in the same way because we're different, right? But it's kind of like this little breakthrough that happens. How do you think that's quite an important part of where you're at now, is that whole apparently weird or different mental health situation that we may have had? Or, would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I what I found, which was very fascinating, was that what the doctors said, like, you know, with me being bipolar and manic depressive, they call me multiple personality disorder. I have dyslexia, learning disabilities, and they thought I also was autistic. And they put me into all these special schools and like hooked on phonics and like all these different things that they had me do. And a lot of the reason why they thought I was autistic is because I didn't speak for a long period of time. Right. As a kid, I was very quiet and didn't say a word. So they thought that was, and the way I would learn, it was very slow compared to what they expected. So when they would do these tests, they said that I didn't pass the test as a normal functioning, you know, kid who was able to understand and interpret information in a certain way. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up in that world where they put me on drugs, and, you know, as things got more, they put me on lithium, and then, you know, it just was like one thing after another. And when I would have these angry fits and go into like these depressions and so forth, they didn't understand. And what was really good for me was that I had family members who, my original family, my dad and my stepmom, they were seeing, my dad was giving in to everything that my stepmom was saying and the doctors were saying, was I had other family members who were like, no, this exists in our family. This is a sign of this is a part of your powers, your gifts. And your dyslexia is a doorway to the other world. So that means it's a swinging doorway, which means you can access the spirit world at any given time. You know, the bipolar aspect is the part of you that has to learn self-preservation and understanding not to take on the expectations or the ideas that are placed upon you. So you're going to have to become a rebel in order to break the bipolar. And the multiple personalities just means you recognize your multidimensional self, and you just have to integrate it and understand how it connects. And your manic depressiveness is because you feel trapped in a world that doesn't give you space to be you. You know, and so you need to express yourself freely. So when my family members shared that with me, and I started getting really deep into my shamanic understanding, I found that these things that are diagnosed were diagnosed on a system that bases it off of the idea of you following rules and accepting indoctrinations. So that's the reason why they find it as a disability or some kind of mental illness, because they see it as, well, you're not able to do what we want you to do within the perimeters that we want you to do it in. So therefore, something's wrong with you.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when I would sit with these people and I'd go into these mental hospitals and I was going through suicide and get my stomach pumped and put in straitjackets and the whole bit, I would always ask the doctors, like, why do you think something's wrong with me? Well, you know, it shows that something's wrong with you because, you know, we ran these tests on you and so forth, and we did the blotter test on you, and, you know, and this, it's not matching up. But how are you categorizing that? Like, how did you come up with what's normal in a world that doesn't seem too normal to me? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, if this was a normal world, I would be able to tell people exactly how I feel when I was a kid without getting in trouble, without getting spanked, without getting grounded, because I'm speaking the truth. I should be able to tell my dad, hey, you're becoming a little too dark and a little bit too aggressive, and it's actually toxic to our environment. But you can't say that. So you live in this perpetual squeeze of this what I call perma state of repression and suppression until you do and follow the rules like the way a dog would, you know? And then when you do exactly the domesticated behaviors that they want you to follow to fit within the regime that they've created, you get rewarded. And when you don't, you get punished. So you get back to correction. But what are you correcting me on? So this world is considered to me ass backwards.
Yeah.
It's not logic. There's no logic in this world whatsoever. And logic is basically subjective to each person's idea of logic that they create based on their system that they're operating from. I can create my own idea of logic. You can create your own idea of logic. And we can all just be different people walking around with different ideas of logic. Yeah. But the whole point is, you can't say that this is the global logic, the universal field of logic, because it doesn't exist. It's non-existent. Because everyone's upbringing, understanding, awareness of what they believe the creator is, food they've eaten, music they've listened to. It's the same thing as I say, I can take a religious person and take everything they learned from the Bible. Then I can take that Bible and hand it to a drag queen and get a different interpretation. Yeah. Then I can take that Bible and hand it to a man who's never been a part of society. He's lived his whole life in a cave and get a very different interpretation. And then I can take that and give it to a different type of person and another type of person. The thing is, they based everything on giving it to the person that they wanted to believe and accept what it is that they created. They never asked anyone else outside of that uniformed way of thinking, what is it that you see? How do you perceive this text? How do you see this? Because you would get a very different situation because there's different elements that are playing, different energies, different masculine, feminine pools that are playing on how perception is actually being created and radiated back to the person through the holographic field. So if that's the case, then their whole interpretation of diagnosis based on mental illness is bullshit.
Totally.
And it's self-created and analyzed to the degree that they want it to be. And therefore they create what I call their suggestive ideas of what they think it is, versus in many other cultures, especially in shamanism and other places around the world, such as Africa and a lot of rural places where that is not a part of the indigenous way, is not accepted in the same way. It is actually revered and seen as a gift, as a blessing, as what we call an anointment, as a what we call a passage of spirit. So if a person in a village grows up having being what they call bipolar in our world, in tribal culture, they're seen as the one who protects the tribe when there's imbalance.
Right.
So when there's imbalance, they feel the energy uncomfortable. And when there's balance, they feel at peace. So they can see the differentiations between those emotions. Someone who's able to have multi-personal personality, like they said I had, is someone who's aware of the multidimensional layers of energy and also consciousness. That means that not only can they see the multidimensional personality within themselves, they can see it within other people, and they can see the quantum energy that exists within all of us, that we're all integratedly connecting to each other as one source multiplied by billions into individual collective sources, but still of one source. So again, all of these gifts, if someone here I hear voices, let's lock them up and put them in a room and give them a pill out of a cup and then, put them in a room and play puzzles with each other.
Yeah, so sorry. What an absolute buggery bum.
Yeah, buggery bum. Where are you in the world?
I'm in Cyprus.
I used to live in Santorini and Mykonos, and used to always go out all the time.
Right, so you do know exactly where I am, yeah. Because people are like, Cyprus, they think it's like on the Greek side, but it's actually a bit close. It's the Middle East, essentially.
Yeah. I used to live in Turkey, and have you ever been to Ephesus?
I've never been to Turkey.
Oh my God, you have to go.
Well, when I'm allowed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great. Yeah. It's literally up there. It's over
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
isn't it? There's two things. Do you think that how open and down to earth you are, like, you know, a bit of swearing, telling people about your past and your history, and being a silly Billy, do you think that's the biggest draw, like the biggest magnetism that you have? Because you obviously have a ginormous following. And that's what immediately switched me on to you, was that you weren't a holier than thou bullshit. It really does it gets right on my tits. It really does.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Me too.
yeah, good. I'm so glad it gets on your tits.
Gets on it like right here, you know?
Good. So yeah, do you reckon that's the magnet, is that people know that you're not going to judge them? Basically, you're like, look, I've been through this as well.
Yeah, I think what it is that people know that when they're with me, they're loved unconditionally. You know, I had this one guy who was from Juarez, and he was a gang leader, and he's killed people, and he's had quite a sordid past, and went to prison and all this kind of stuff. And no psychologist or anyone would take him, and they just didn't want to work with him. It was just the strangest thing. And you know, he had a friend who was another friend whose sister knew me, and said, why don't you go see Shaman Durek? And he's like, I don't know if Shaman's going to want to see me either. And he came in, and he's just like, you know what I love about you? And I go, what? He's like, you're not judging me. And he's like, you're not seeing me in this like bad light. Like, you're really helping me understand like what happened in your, you know. And it's so for me, I think what it is just that I'm just very real with people. And I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. Like, that's why there's doors and windows you can climb out of and get away from me. You know, like, I'm like, it's all right. I'll get you a bike. I mean, there's ways to get away, you know, like it's, for me, it's about like people who are really ready to step into their power and cut out the bullshit, cut out the nonsense, cut out this very like, you know, this kind, I know it's just like this very new agey kind of like, you have to have done all these things, have gone to India, you have to have read the Bhagavad Gita, you've had to do this or do that before people actually really start to see you as a spiritual person. And to me, just being on earth, having to deal with all this shit, you know, is like literally, you know, feeling if you don't see that person as spiritual, something seriously wrong with ya, you know?
I do know.
You know, and I think that for me, it's also about making sure that I think a lot of people like it because I put the power back in their hands. I'm not here to be like, I'm above you. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not sitting on a pedestal looking down at you. I'm not walking in front of you being like, I know everything, because I don't know a lot of things. And I'm here to learn from you as well, to remember. And so we're side by side. We're colleagues. We're on this path together. You know, if I fall, pick me up. If you fall, I'll pick you up. And let's do this. And let's change the narrative of the leader, the world leader guru nonsense that I see, which is like, you're my disciple and I'm your guru. Ha, you know, build me this powerful retreat and everybody act like crazy people and I'll stay inside and count how many Rolls Royces I have and how many gold coins I have and not really interact with you at all. But no, I mean, that was then, this is now. And that even though those people did like, you know, have their roles that they played, like Osho, yeah, I would have probably been there dancing and jumping around and living on that land. I mean, I'm sure I would have, you know, like all of that.
It looked like fun up to a point, you know.
Up to a point, it would have been fun, you know.
Yeah.
But then when the fun would be, I'd be like, okay, you guys, let's go. Let's get our backpacks and let's get out of here. You know, we're ready to go. So the thing is, I feel like for me, that's what draws people to me, is that they know that I'm there for them. I respond to them in my DMs. I know who they are. Like I go on the street, someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, this is Monica. Do you remember I wrote you? I'm like, yeah, did you have your baby? And they're like, oh my God, you remember? I'm like, of course, you're a tribal member. Like I keep up to date with what's going on with everyone. I'm not just a talking head. I'm actually a person who's soul integrating with you.
Yeah, I know, because when I've messaged you, you voice noted me back and I was like, he must be well busy. How come he's doing this? This is amazing. So yeah, that's another thing that was like a big tick, that was not like this, you know, ridiculous guru status, touch my feet, only speak via this channel, this channel, this channel. It's really refreshing.
And don't touch my feet unless I'm going to get a kick-ass pedicure, you know, seriously, or get off my toes. Get off my nubs. Leave my nubs alone.
Go fiddle with your own knobs,
Unless you
guys.
got some pink nail polish, or you're gonna give me some really cool, like, you know, you got some like bright pink nail polish you're gonna put on my big toe. Get away from my nubs.
Well, I'm so glad that we stand in solidarity in so many respects. That's great. Oh, brilliant. Judgment. In your book, you talk about judgment, and I hashtag judgment back in the day, like no judgment, because I was so sick of exactly how spiritual people are actually more judgmental than anyone else.
Oh, full time. Huge. They're like, they have like a judgment court they all go to.
They really do. And I'm not going. And
no, I'm not going either.
No, it's going to be very boring. It's going to be very, very boring. In the pandemic, there's a pandemic going on. Don't know if you know.
Yeah, I know. I call it the mini apocalypse.
Oh, yeah, sure. There's that too. There's a lot of judgment going on in conversations with regard to everything that is this illness. And how do we sort of get over this judgment and get past the two-sided duality nonsense? How do we get people to move on in conversation, apart from sort of going, well, I do this and you do that?
You know, honestly, I don't really care. That's the whole thing. It's like, if people feel that they have to go into that space of coming at each other, they're not really coming at each other. They're only coming at themselves. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing is to stand outside the battlefield and just get the soup ready and the blankets and the bandages and maybe some good house music or some country music or something that's going to soothe them, you know? And when they come out of the battlefield, it'll be like, okay, so we've done this in many lifetimes. I don't know if you recall, but we did. And you're just playing into the Matrix's hands. Because the thing is, if I go in there, and what I found is that when I'm talking to people who are in that space, they don't want to hear what I have to say. Mm. I simply tell them, you know what? It doesn't really matter. The duality needs to be dissolved into synergy, into oneness, into understanding. Like, this is a game of distraction. And the game of distraction is real AF. It's the whole purpose is to keep you distracted on righteousness and keep you distracted on righteousness so that your righteousness is so empowered that you keep fighting each other, creating more chaos so that the system can go, look at all the chaos they're creating. Now we can put this into motion. Now we can put this into motion. And honestly, why are you feeding the beast? Stop feeding the beast. You know, and so if people want to go into that space, I'm like, well, obviously you say you're a spiritual person, but you're constantly arguing and bickering and telling people your opinions. Nobody wants to hear your opinion. Your opinion is not even, like, for me, when people share their opinions with me, I'm like, honestly, if your opinion is not supporting the global transformation of the people, as an understanding of all inclusiveness, including the animals, including nature, including the mythical beings, and all the things that you cannot see and maybe don't want to see, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. Because your opinion is governed upon your polarity brain that has been programmed by a system that wants you to have an opinion on nothing. Yeah. So that you're just another big distraction. You're another distraction bubble, and I'm not going to bounce into your bubble. I don't want to bounce in your bubble. I don't want to jump on your bubble. I don't want to taste your bubble. I don't want to even, like, no. Distraction bubbles are so like dark ages, you know? It's like, are we living in the dark ages? Because that's what a distraction bubble is. It's a bubble with an angry little creature inside, just like, and I just like, leave it alone. Do not let it out. Just leave it alone and let it run its course. And for all those who don't want to be a part of that crazy bubble thing, just come and hang out with me and we'll talk about having fun and having picnics and love and, like, you know, and if we have to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you feel like you don't want to wear a mask, that's your choice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I choose to wear a mask, but that's me. But sometimes when it's like, it depends what I'm feeling. And then sometimes I don't wear a mask. It's like, I'm not here to sit there and say what's right, what's wrong. My role as a shaman is to stay in the neutral position of love. I stay in the field of love, whatever that represents. Whatever I do, you got a problem with it, that's your own problem. Everyone needs to back off people and let people be who people want to be. And let's see where the cards fall from a place of acceptance and non-judgment. But the people have judgments because everybody thinks they have a righteous opinion. And your righteous opinion means absolutely nothing. It's just another distraction, angry hamster bubble.
Yeah, totally. Good. Well, I'm glad that that is where you stand on it, because I notice it and I don't know what to do about it. So
I don't even pay attention to it.
Nothing. Okay.
I pay attention to just focusing on those who want to stay in a place of love and empowerment and build their powers and become Jedis. And everyone else can continue to squabble and scream. I've seen it throughout. I've been in many bodies. I've seen this thing play out so many times. It's just a repeat of history. And again, I'm just bored. It's like, boy, it's Groundhog's Day. It's like Groundhog's Day. And I'm looking for the way to get out of Groundhog's Day. And the way you get out of Groundhog's Day is don't keep reacting to the same thing in the same way, doing the same thing in the same way over and over again, because you're going to be stuck in the loop. So what I do is look for more interesting, exciting, fun, creative, innovative ways to break that loop and get out.
Great. I'm a loop breaker too.
Loop breaker.
We're loop breakers.
Yeah.
I would just, one final thing is this whole video is going to be shown on the equinox weekend, which is a wonderful thing in and of itself, but it's for Yoga Stops Traffic. And I'm wondering if everyone who's watching this, whether there's a short practice or a hack or a something that maybe we can do together. I'll let the demons leave.
I'm like this.
Yes, good. Oh, this is now face therapy. Okay.
I love it.
Oh, it's the only thing to do when we have technical issues. It's really, it really challenges my Zen AF status.
Seriously. Technical issues suck, and it's not even Mercury in retrograde.
And that was a cough.
I feel like I'm being falsely raped. I feel like I'm being falsely raped by some planet that thinks it's Mercury, but it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, it's some planet out there that thinks it's a Mercury, and it's like, I'm gonna be Mercury retrograde today.
Yeah. Playing Billy Big Bollocks, and it's not even welcome. Get out.
Yeah, exactly.
So on a slightly lighter and more, integrative note, if you will, for the festival, I'd like to try and get everyone to do one thing that they can do so like is there a practice that we can all do at the online festival that maybe
you can do. So let's access the energy of the spirit spark, right, which is how you actually build your powers in the spirit world. So take your hand like this, okay, and say, spirit spark, come and rest on my hand.
Spirit spark, come and rest on my hand.
What do you feel?
It's, immediately like a pulsating.
Spirit sparks love to join with us. Now say, merge with me.
Merge with me.
And increase my powers.
And increase my powers. On a wooey.
Now, watch. Now your spirit spark is a part of you, so now you can use your powers. So say, make me lighter and take me above the suffering of the world.
Make me lighter and take me above the suffering of the world.
How does that feel?
There's something here.
Say, open my heart.
Open my heart.
And ground me to deep earth.
And ground me to deep earth. Well, that's cool.
Say, optimize my brain. And increase my energy field.
And increase my energy field. Now it just feels completely clear and solid.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to increase your power, say, spirit sparks.
Spirit sparks.
Come and rest rest all over my body.
And rest, spirit sparks, come and rest all over my body.
Now what's happening?
I'm getting a lot of pulsating in my head in particular.
Mm-hmm. Say, merge with me.
Merge with me.
And increase my powers.
And increase my powers. Whoa. I closed my eyes, but it got really bright in there.
Uh-huh. Because you're now holding more spirit sparks in your body. Now say, ice spirit, cool me off.
Say that again.
Ice spirit, cool me off.
Ice spirit, cool me off. Wicked.
Say, wind, come to me.
Wind, come to me. It's inside.
Do you think it's inside?
Oh, it feels like it.
Come on, say wind, blow on my face.
Wind, blow on my face. They don't mind me laughing, do they?
They love laughter.
Okay.
What they move away from you from is when you're afraid or when you're judging. They spirit sparks clear space from you.
No, it's still here. It's still coming.
Of course.
Whoa. Definitely not afraid. Super intrigued.
Watch. Say, spirit spark, rest on my nose.
Spirit spark, rest on my nose. Not so much on that.
Can you feel it at all?
I can feel it here.
So that's where you're choosing to feel it.
Okay.
Say, spirit spark, rest on my head.
Spirit spark, rest on my head. Okay.
Say, merge with me.
Merge with me.
Increase your spark.
Increase your spark.
Now say, body, generate electricity.
Body, generate electricity. This is so brilliant.
Body, focus my eyes so I can see the colors in the room.
Body, focus my eye so that I can see the colors in the room. This is like a trip.
Welcome to my world, my dear.
Yeah.
A world that we have forgotten because of this system. Wow. And a world that I return back to the people and will continue to as people begin to understand and have respect for the spirits. And I will reveal more and more as time moves on.
Amazing. And do I have to say thank you to the spirits now? And
your thank you is a human thing. Spirits already know that you're appreciative or they wouldn't be there.
Great. Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. That was thoroughly lovely. And yeah. I mean, I already thought I was kind of trippy before, but that is something else. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for spending your morning, my evening with me and, you know, giving me a lovely little trip and having a wonderful little chit chat and having a laugh.
I love it. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being on this planet. And thank you for everybody for being on this planet. And thank you for everything that we're doing to free the women and children from trafficking. It's very important and very dear to my heart.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, mate. Heartsies. Love you. See you later.